Welcome to Generation Hope, a podcast by connect.faith. I'm Cali, and I'm looking for stories of hope in the lives of young adults. This season, we're hearing from people who are just starting out their professional careers in education, healthcare, and other service fields when we were hit with a global pandemic. Today, I'm joined by Wray, who served as a member of an ambulance crew in Northern Ireland at the beginning of the pandemic and is currently serving as a student paramedic in England. So thanks for being here, Glenn.
Thanks for inviting me. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad that you could join us. So how long have you served as a first responder and in an ambulance crew for?
So my journey actually starts when I was 6 years old.
Wow.
So when I was 6 in our primary school, we had an organization called St. John Ambulance. So they take you in at a young age. They teach you vital skills, first aid skills, the basics really.
Right.
So you work your way up. They're what is called badgers when you're at a young age in primary school. Then when you go into secondary school, you have what's called the St. John Ambulance Cadets. And they're from about 12 to turning 18. And then once you turn 18, you join the adult units where you crew the ambulances and that. So my journey really started at a young age of being a first responder. So I've always taken these steps to get to where I am now, which, as you said in your introduction, is now a student paramedic with the end goal of being a qualified paramedic.
So what was it about this field that interests you? Like, it obviously captivated your interest very young. Did you ever second guess and think about, I don't know if this is what I want to do, or were you pretty much certain?
Well, it's quite interesting because my two brothers, they were ahead of me and they were in the same organization. And so it was kind of more so following their suit. So I joined because they joined. I wanted to see what it was all about, but it was never always paramedics for me. As you may know, Cali, from camp, I did want to be a priest at one stage.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So I did actually start that, but I always just felt my calling was more the work in healthcare and help people out that way, as opposed to from a religious aspect. So so it was never just one line. It was always, I was drawn between the two. But I think when I did start the priesthood and I was seeing the medics out doing their thing in the communities, I was like, oh, I kind of want to be doing that. So I changed and then applied then for university to do the paramedic science degree.
It seems like you always had this call of like, I need to be serving people, then I need to be helping people, and then it took a little experimentation, we'll say, to figure out what route to do it. How old were you, and what was the experience like when you first started volunteering in an ambulance and being on that front line?
So I was about 16 when I actually started to get out on an ambulance. It was never really hands-on as such. It was more so kind of being in the background and helping out that way. So it was about 16, doing all different kinds of events, mainly motocross. It's very hard to describe when you're helping people that way, because let's face it, if you need an ambulance, you need help.
Right.
And being that person who can actually help you is like, it's a very rewarding feeling.
Yeah.
You know, it's something I take really great pride in. And if you actually look behind me, I don't know if you can see the wee logo there.
Oh yeah.
That's actually the logo too of the Northern Ireland Ambulance Service. So I've had that at a young age. So again, striving up towards being a paramedic again.
Yeah. You've been in an ambulance and been on that front line for a pretty long time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's rewind to about 9 or 10 months ago, and we're seeing these headlines of a pandemic is kind of circulating places. Can you take us back to when the pandemic really started hitting Northern Ireland? What started going through your head, and knowing that you were going to be serving on the front lines of this?
So St. John Ambulance is a voluntary organization, so we get they choose whether or not to go out in the ambulance. So when the pandemic first hit Northern Ireland, it was kind of, you don't really want to get involved, which was the case. I had a lot of vulnerable people around me, and I was like, I don't really want to get involved, just in case I put them at risk. But as the weeks gone on, the ambulance service and the hospitals were getting under pressure. I couldn't just sit behind no more. I was like, no, I want to be out, and I want to help people as much as I can. So again, I then signed myself up to be on the front line of that. And sometimes it was 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. It was non-stop, but again, it's the final reward of helping people. Like one of the patients that sticks out in my mind is, it was an elderly man, and he was in hospital, and he was in hospital from the start of the pandemic. So that was about 13 weeks he was in hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, and his family wanted him out, so they could care for him at home, but there wasn't actually any ambulances to take him home again. So his family was at a constant battle to try and get him home. So that's when we came into play, the voluntary organizations. We were able to take that man home, and it's a very hard feeling to describe, because when we pulled up in the ambulance to take him out into his home, all the neighbors were out in their front gardens, and they were clapping, and that he's finally got home. And I was like, I feel like we've really achieved something here.
Yeah.
And I turned around to my crewmate and I was like, this is exactly what it's all about, being able to give back to your community, helping your community as much as possible. As much as 2020 was a bad year, it was a quick year all the same. It was a privilege. And it still is a privilege to be able to help people, especially when the ambulance services are under so much pressure.
Right. Such an essential piece of the puzzle there.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Wow. I can't get past 12-hour shifts 7 days a week.
Yeah. It was nonstop.
Yeah. Were you guys did you have a lot of people being willing to volunteer? Was that part of the reason those shifts were so long, so frequently?
It was kind of a mixture, you had people obviously of other commitments, they still had their jobs and that. So because it is a voluntary organization I was working with at the time, it's hard to guarantee people being able to come out and help out. Right. But I think, like that is part of the reason why the shifts were so long. But we got well looked after. We got free food, so it's not all bad. Yeah.
So you mentioned you've been working in an ambulance since you were about 16, or volunteering for the ambulance since you were about 16. How did you see your job change because of the pandemic? Obviously the hours got more intense, but did the frequency of patients change, or the responsibilities you had change at all?
Obviously, we had more patients that we were, taking in and out of hospitals and that. But in terms of the actual job, obviously, you have to be more careful with patients who are having signs of COVID and that. Making sure your mask is on, you're gowned up like forensics. But yeah, in terms of that, I don't think a whole lot has changed. Obviously, they're just trying to protect everyone, protect their staff. Hospital routes are a bit different. There's only one way into the hospital, only one way out. Kind of the kind of standard thing that's happening now for everywhere is
right.
Is the changes that's happening in the ambulance service too.
Yeah, I remember seeing really at the height of the pandemic, videos from all over of people trying to show support to first responders. How did you see that in your communities?
So I don't know if you've seen it on the news, but Northern Ireland and England had, on every Thursday night, everyone was out. I think it was 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and they would have applauded all the key workers and anyone who was working in the NHS, so which is our National Health Service. So anyone who worked down them fields, and the whole community was out, and myself included. You know, we had our saucepans out, and we were making as much noise as possible. Again, it was just to encourage some hope for the people who were getting involved and putting their life and their family at risk.
Yeah.
You know, it's just essentially what they did. During the pandemic, I had come to notice that our local community hadn't got an AED present that would be available 24/7. An AED is an external automatic defibrillator. And basically, it's the things you see on TV where they go, shock, and the patient jumps, and that's not how it works, but that's what they show in the movie. So it's it shocks your heart back into a normal rhythm again. So I wanted to raise money for one in our community, and again, it was a great community effort. A lot of people got behind me, and now we actually have an AED that's present in my area. It was a great achievement for all of us, you know. Because a week later, that AED actually got used.
Yeah, it was almost like your parting gift to your community. It sounds like.
Yeah, that's what it was. You know, just with the help of other people, they helped me fundraise it.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I was so happy when I saw that it was successful and that you had raised all the funds necessary, because it wasn't cheap. Like you guys.
No, it was £1,500.
How did your family react to your decision? Because you said, you know, at first I wasn't so sure, and then I just couldn't not help. And you mentioned your brothers were also kind of in this field. Did you all make this decision? What went into that?
So my older brother, he is a nurse. Okay. So when COVID started, they had really bad. He's a mental health nurse. So when COVID had bad, he actually got redeployed into the hospital wards.
Oh wow!
They help out there. So he was getting involved as well. So it was like, if he's getting involved, I may as well get involved too. So you can't really make exceptions for one and not for the other.
Right. Did your parents feel any, or did they let you know if they felt any nervousness or hesitation with you going?
At the start, yes. But as weeks gone on, they were like, right, you know, he's wearing his protective stuff, you know, he's being protected against it. It was a matter of fact, getting changed at the station, coming home and getting showered and that, and, you know, it was fine. As much as they were concerned, they were happy enough. They were happy enough for us to go out and they help.
Right. So they basically said, we're not thrilled, but as long as you're taking the proper safety measures, we understand why you feel the need to do that. Yeah. I feel like that's as good of a reaction as you can hope for.
Yeah, and not even that. I was starting to get really bored at home, so I was like, I need to do something. You know?
Yeah, I get that for sure.
So boredom was set, and then I was like, I need to be in the ambulance doing stuff.
Yeah. At the beginning of the pandemic, you were, you know, doing these intense shifts, serving as a volunteer for your community. And then at some point you went to school. I don't know how recent this was. And you're now in England as a student paramedic. Was this a program you were already involved in, or did you make this decision recently that you wanted to do this program?
So to be a paramedic in the UK, you need to go to uni, and that is a 3-year course. So I had to apply to university. So I applied just the year before for the next commencing academic year.
Right.
So it's not just something you can be like, yeah, we'll do this now. You have to be interviewed. It's very competitive. And there was a good couple of hundred people, if not thousands, of people applied for my course, and only 50 got into this university. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, quite lucky. They must have seen something in me in the university. But yeah, it's not just something that you can just go do. You have to apply for it. You have to do personal statements, and you have to be up to an academic kind of level.
When did you start the program?
So I started there in September. Actually, that's a lie, October. It was supposed to start in September, but everything got pushed back because we didn't know if university was going to actually open, or
right,
how the teaching was going to happen and all that kind of stuff. So I actually started in October, and I'm now due to go out in my first placement on Wednesday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. What does that mean exactly, your first placement?
So when you phone 999 in the UK, you ask for the ambulance and you get the paramedics out. Back home in Northern Ireland, you don't have that kind of opportunity to crew the emergency ambulances or even watch the paramedics on shift and that. So for our first placement, we get to go out and actually shadow the paramedics and start to get involved, because obviously we hold the title as a student paramedic.
Right.
We get to help them out and say something like CPR. We can help them out with the chest compressions, and then learn some more skills from that.
That's awesome. So you're getting pretty hands-on experience.
Yeah, so our placements are basically hands-on experience and learning the skills that we learn in theory and applying them to practice.
How has this program been for you so far? Are you enjoying it? Does it make you more excited, more nervous?
It's good. It's a bit difficult because everything's online.
Okay.
I think since I've been here, I think I've been in the uni like 5 times.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but a lot of it's online, which is a little bit frustrating, but I'd rather do it online than not do it at all. It just means I can wake up 2 minutes before the lecture and rock out of bed and be like, yep.
Yeah. So over here in the US, a big problem has been this kind of conspiracy that the virus isn't real. It's not that serious. You don't have to wear a mask. And it's not everywhere in the US, but in a lot of states, that's the consensus. And that obviously results in the healthcare workers getting frustrated, because if you're not wearing a mask, if you're not taking the precautions, there's a really good chance you're going to get sick. And then the people who have been asking you to do that are then going to risk their lives to save you. Mm-hmm. And I'm so frustrated for them, because what an unfair deal. We're telling you how to best take care of yourself so that there's less strain on the healthcare workers. Has that been a situation that you've seen in the UK at all, where there's kind of this discourse about how seriously to handle the virus, and how does that affect you guys as first responders?
I think a lot of people do think it's fake, but it's very much not. Like, you can see on the BBC news that hospitals are under pressure. You know, ambulance service staff are struggling to cope because obviously their staff's coming off of other people's been exposed to them. I don't know. Personally, I just think it is a wee bit frustrating, but you're going to get it, so there's no point dwelling on it. But if everyone just kind of abides by the guidelines, and we'd be much better off, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all in it together, really.
Yeah. That's a great reminder of we're all, we all have the same goal here. Let's try to work together to make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you had any cool experiences with patients, or met any patients that had some cool stories to share?
Yeah, so unfortunately, no celebrities have come my way yet, but I'm waiting for Conor McGregor sometime. But
Yeah.
but no, I think one of there's a patient I had one time, and I was taking her from hospital to care home, and she had dementia.
Mm.
But I was watching the dementia team with her in the wards, and she was getting very frustrated because you can imagine with dementia, people's very confused. They don't really know what's going on, especially when you're taking them out to an ambulance or like, what is this? Where am I going?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I seen with the dementia team that was working with her, that they were talking about the old times, which brought back some memories. So when she was in the ambulance, she was getting very frustrated and agitated with me. So I decided I'd start to sing to her. And I was singing some of the old songs, like Old Danny Boy, and, stuff that would bring back a wee bit of a flashback for her. And it did, it calmed her down. I held her hand, and I think that's just basic patient care. You got to remember that could be you sometime. That could be your mother. That could be your father. That could be, someone you really care about. So that's another patient who would kind of stick out in my mind and always brings me back to basic patient care. Everyone's human at the end of the day.
Yeah, that basic notion of empathy that can be so easy to slip away from our minds, and then as soon as we're reminded, the importance of it just comes rushing back. Yeah. What you've described has sounded like a bit of a whirlwind in a way. Like, you've described a lot of really busy nights. You've described transitioning from those busy nights into being a full-time student who's about to be doing hands-on experience in addition to online classes. And it sounds pretty overwhelming. So what keeps you motivated to keep doing all of this?
Honestly, I think it's just giving back to the community. The community's given me so much. And I think when you're helping others, I always like to kind of put others first before me. So when you're thinking of others, it's like, oh, what can I do? What can I do to help? How can I help more? So I don't really find it that overwhelming for me. Don't get me wrong, it's very busy. It doesn't stop, but it keeps you on your toes. I'd rather make as much impact as I can on other people's lives than kind of sitting about and really doing nothing. So this is my way of doing it. This is my way of giving back to the community, and ideally it's the way I would like to keep going, and just constantly giving the other people and being there when they need help.
When I hear you explain it, I got tired, but it sounds like it's almost giving you energy, knowing that what you're doing is giving back. Would you say that, right?
Yeah,
that's awesome. So I invited you to talk with me today because I think that your story will give a lot of people hope, and knowing that there's people like you out there in the world will give a lot of people hope. But I'm asking everybody who joins me, what do you hope for going forward? Either in your personal life, what do you hope for your country? What do you hope for in your industry? What are you hoping for?
Well, I think everyone's kind of hopes would be the same for 2021, that we can kind of get rid of the virus, and just get back to a sense of normality again. Like just the basic things of going to the cinema, just chilling out with friends, That's my hope for the coming year. And I also hope that someone can bring out like a solution to stop my glasses from steaming up from wearing the mask, because I haven't got the grips to that one yet, but
yeah, that'd be nice.
So that's a very personal hope that these can be sorted out.
Small problems, big impact. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
just one of the things, it's actually a quote that I would love to leave people on.
Yeah.
And it's actually by a president.
Nice.
So it's next to creating a life, the finest thing a man can do is save one.
Oh, I love that. Who said that?
It was Lincoln.
Of course.
Yeah. So I think in times like this, that quote means quite a lot. You know, next to creating a life, the finest thing a man can do is save one. And I think, you know, wear your mask, wash your hands, be on top of your hygiene. If you have COVID symptoms, don't go out. And again, you'll be able to save lots of lives by doing that. And as Lincoln says, it's one of the finest things a man can do.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Glenn. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening today. You've been listening to Generation Hope, a podcast by connect.faith. I'm Cali Bronkova, and I hope you enjoyed. Woo, we did it. All right.